Yo, it's your boy SP Anonymous. We back in the lab today for the Music Theory Series Volume 1. Just giving y'all a little medicine for the day, man. You gotta get your musical medicine, therapeutic, music, and real melodies and real harmonies and structure and things of that nature. Anyhow, so I was supposed to drop the series. I had intended to do it for Sunday, but I realized probably not the best day. I ended up being tired after working. I taught like a lot of lessons, private lessons, voice and piano and stuff like that yesterday. So I was pretty tired after that, and I didn't want to be, slouchy or anything like that. So anyhow, here we are today, Volume 1. So what we're going to do is a 16-week series on music theory. This is level 1. Technically, I could put out 5 levels of this, each being about 16 weeks. So this can go on for a long time, but we'll see how this goes, week 1. So I'll just start you off in the beginning. The theory, I'm very excited about this, because you guys are out there making your instrumentals and your beats and stuff like that, and you're clicking in these notes and you're playing these notes in, and I just think it's really important for you guys to know, what you're doing, where this stuff is derived from, and how it functions, and how you can control it. And if you understand it better, you'll better utilize the music that you're doing, the theory and things like that. So anyhow, I wanted to start this series, at the Hollywood studio. It would be better because I could really talk and demonstrate a lot like that. However, like I said, I'm posted at home for a while, doing some other stuff, getting ready for my next recital. So, and I got, students out, here by my home, so won't be out there for a while. So anyhow, let's get into it. It's really exciting. Like I said, it's a 16-week series, so if you think you're going to watch this video and after it you're about to go, it's not how it works. So starting in the beginning of the theory, I'm going to teach you guys what you guys need to know. So the number one most important element of music to begin, is intervallic distances, which is the distance between one note and the other, and the quality of it, whether it be a perfect fifth, a perfect fourth, a minor seventh, a flatted fifth, or a sharp 11, which is the same thing. I mean, we'll get into all of that. So that's like the first, main important thing. So we're going to go over that. But also, what's important is what I want you guys have to know the notes of the keyboard. It's extremely important, you know what I mean? So let's go over a quick way to look at the keyboard. I have mastered the keyboard, the piano, so I teach it, been teaching it for a while, played it, I played it professionally and things like that. So y'all know what I'm talking about here. So anyway, let me help you guys out. Let's start off by talking about the notes. Here's the most important or most relevant note, as in terms of learning the piano, is here. This is the middle C. All right, C5. So what we're going to talk about is how to identify. So the musical alphabet, okay, is letters A to G. All right. After G, it just repeats again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Here's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? We keep landing on C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So here's a little trick, that I like to teach my students about the piano. So basically, here's the way to look at it. I want you guys to notice the pattern on the keyboard of 2 black notes, right? And then 3 black notes. 2 black notes, 3 black notes. So that's a pattern that's going to help you guys while we're beginning. So here's what I want you guys to remember. That to the left, the white note to the left of the 2 black notes is always C, no matter where you are, okay? So, here's the white note to the left of 2 blacks way down here, and you can see it's a C. So it'll always be a C, okay? And then I would say the 3 black notes to the left of the 3 black notes is always an F. Here's an F, here's your next F, up an octave, and another F. So at least this is a starting point for you to know, okay, there's my C, there's my F. Now, let's not be remedial here, guys. This stuff is really, promise you, it's not as difficult as people would like to think it is, and it's probably why they like to run away from theory. It's actually basically simple. Ask yourself this question. Do I know the alphabet from A to G? Okay, I'm assuming most of you guys thought that was funny, but it's serious. Now, can you count from numbers 1 to 13? Okay, so if the answer was yes to both of those questions, then you can learn music theory, period. You know, end of discussion. That's all you really need to know as far as prerequisites. The rest, you know, I'll show you guys. So anyhow, let's talk about the intervallic distances, okay? So the way intervals work is we're going to use we'll use C4, okay, as our root, okay? And I'm gonna show you guys all the distances from C. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a C4, C5, C6, C7, C3, C8. It doesn't matter, but this is just where we are here, and I'm showing you guys. So everything I'm about to tell you guys, or teach you guys rather, applies any C from that point. So here's our starting point. We're going to start from C, okay? There are 12 steps, okay? There's 12 steps, okay, until you get to the octave, all right? And each of those 12 steps are an interval, okay? Now, why are the intervals important? Because they have minor and major qualities, and these are how chords are built. And if you know these qualities, then I can teach you guys how to build chords. So let's look at this. So from C, the first interval, all right, and in fact, let me tell you guys this way, okay? C being 1, D being 2, 3 being E, or E being 3, and F being 4, G being 5, 6 being A, 7 being B, okay? So there's like 7 notes in this scale. And we're going to talk about all of the intervals in coordinates to the C, the tonic note, okay? So the first interval is a second, okay? If you're moving from one note to the other, it's a second. You can't have two number ones. So here's your number 1 note, C. The first interval right here is D sharp, or excuse me, D flat, C sharp. All right, and so the first interval, this is a minor second. All right, it's a half step. A half step in music means it's the closest stepwise motion in music. It's the nearest note, whether descending or ascending. So ascending, a half step, you'll get to C sharp. Here's C, and then up a half step, C sharp. Now here's C. If you go down a half step, you'll be on B natural. All right. So the shortest interval in music, again, is a minor second. Okay. So from C to C sharp, here's your minor second. It's also the most dissonant interval in music. As you can see, that's why. Very, very dissonant. But there is ways to use it. See how nice it sounds there. There. Okay, so there's chords and things where you use it to get sounds out. Anyhow, so from the next note here, a whole step. Okay, so a whole step is 2 half steps. So let's get that out of the way. We're going to use that language a lot. A whole step and half step, whole step. So half step is 1 note over, and a whole step is 2 notes over. All right, so the second interval is a major second. All right, so remember this rule here. Where there is a minor, there is a major. All right, so if this was a minor second, rest assured there will be a major second. Okay, so remember that rule. Where there is a minor, there is a major. So here's your minor second. The next note is your major second. All right, and this is what it sounds like. It's actually a consonant interval, meaning that it is somewhat pleasant to the ear, and it's a suspension. Pretty cool. So whole steps also make up of what we call the whole tone scale, which is just what it says. It's nothing but whole steps all the way up. So, you know, you go from one note, skip one whole step, skip one whole step, skip this one whole step, and it sounds like this. That is your whole tone scale, and we're not getting into that right now, but I was just showing you about, you know, this major second, the interval, how it even created its own scale. So we're done with the seconds, okay? So we're moving on to the thirds. So here's your minor third. And like I said, these are simple rules, and if you just pay attention and put it together, think for yourself, I'm telling you, you'll have it all figured out. So if this is a minor third, I mean, I'd like you guys to be thinking, well, that means the next note up is a major third, because I just said where there's a minor, there's a major, all right? So here's what we have, quick review. We got the tonic, the root. We got the minor second, the major second, the minor third. It's how minor chords are built. And then the major third. It's how major chords are built. Alright, so after that, I really want you guys to pay attention how the next note here, from the major third to the next note, there's no black note in between, so but it's still a half step. And a lot of people make this mistake of counting this as a whole step because they're used to the white notes going whole step. But you just got to pay attention. A half step means the closest note, whether ascending or descending. It doesn't matter if it's black or white, so you have to understand that. So going up here, this is the next note, and it's a half step. So this interval, because it doesn't have a note in between, a black note, it's a perfect interval, and it's called the perfect fourth. So we have our minor second, minor third, major third, but here there's no minor interval, so that's why there's no major, and therefore the interval is just perfect. We call it a perfect fourth because it sounds perfect, it's consonant. So it doesn't really have a dissonance to it, like per se if I played, right, or of course the minor second, but yeah, it doesn't have, you know, there we go, it doesn't have that type of dissonance, you know, it's very straightforward. So anyhow, that's your perfect fourth. After your perfect fourth, some would call this the most important interval in all of music, which is the tritone, okay? So here's your perfect fourth, but here's the tritone. And the reason why people would say that is the most important interval in music, because the tritone it lies inside of the 5 chord as the dominant chord, and you need the 5 chord to rest at home. So with this tritone here, this helps you do this. It's that resting chord. So that's your tritone interval. They used to call it the devil's interval because a lot of course, the African Americans used it a lot in blues music. All blues is, you know, based on this tritone interval. So the next interval is the perfect fifth from C to G. Alright. And you know, I'm doing the best I can. I got one hand on the record button and I'm looking at the screen, and I'm kind of not looking at the keyboard. My right hand is playing all of this stuff. So, you know, like I said, we'll get this, you know, better. I'll be able to use both my hands. Anyhow, so yeah, we have the perfect fifth. Alright. It's another perfect interval, and like I said, it's because the note before it was the tritone, so there was no minor interval from the 1 to the 5. So after the perfect fifth, we have the minor sixth. Alright, that's that interval. So you can expect that the next note is a major sixth, because where there's a minor, there's a major. Alright, and then finally we have the minor seventh. And then we have the major seventh because there was a minor. Alright, and finally the octave. So those are all of the intervals in music, period. There is no other intervals. Alright, and they're the most important ones. Most important thing to learn, so you can learn how to build chords and things like that, and we'll teach you guys about melody and things like that. So let's do a quick recap before we move on. So you got a root, minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, tritone or sharp four or flatted fifth, perfect fifth, minor sixth, major sixth, minor seventh, major seventh, octave. Alright, so now let's make this applicable, okay, and make it make sense. So I taught you guys, you know, all of the intervals, and now we're gonna learn our first scale. Most people know the scale already, but I'm gonna actually show you about it and how to analyze it and how to look at it so you can use it, you know, theoretically. So we'll stick to C, to the C major scale, okay? And that's C, all the white notes, going back up to C. Alright, so from C to C. The scale really ends here though, right? On B, and it starts again on C. So, but the octave is C to C. So let's talk about the major scale. And so there's a formula to the major scale. I'm going to teach you guys the major scale formula. So always when you count though, you don't count the first note where you're starting from. So the formula is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So the good way to do it, what you do is you put, you know, two W, a dash, you know, dash, W, dash, H, dash, three more W's, and then, you know, the H at the end. So what that is whole step from C to D, right? That's a whole step because a whole step is a major second, and we're skipping the minor second. So whole, then another whole, right? Skipping the minor third, and then you have a half step because there's no note in between, so this is a half step. So that's why you say whole, whole, half. Then after that, we have another whole step, skipping this interval, this note here, F sharp. We have another whole step, and then another one, and then a half. So you got two wholes, half, three wholes, and then a half. All right, so that's the major scale formula. Now, how does this work for you guys is that I'm going to teach you guys, well, really you already know. So think about it like this. Based on the intervals I just taught you, now you know the notes of the scale. You can tell me what qualities make up a major scale. So you got a root, a major second, a major third, a perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, a major sixth, and a major seventh. So think about it. It's called a major scale for a reason. There is no minor second in a major scale. There's no minor third. There's no minor sixth or a minor seventh. Not from the root, that is. So think about how this is starting to come together and make sense. It's called a major scale, right? I just showed you guys all of the intervals, and the major scale only has major intervals from the tonic, that is. Starting from the tonic is what key you're in, okay? So there was no minor intervals, all right? So that was important to know. And remember, this was a major second, this was a major third, this was perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh. So these are all the intervals that make up of any major scale. So now you can apply this, by the way, anywhere. So let's look how the major scale formula works anywhere. So we go to F sharp. Think about it. So whole step. So we skip one whole. Whole, skip one. Now we got a half. Whole, skip this one. Another whole step, and we're here. So that's any major scale. And I'm teaching you guys the steps. You gotta learn how to apply this. If you have troubles with it or it's not clicking, just leave a comment, ask me about it. I'll help you out. But look, it paints every scale just by using that formula. Well, let's do another one now. How about D? All right. So what's the formula? whole, half, 3 wholes and a half. So here's the starting point, a whole step, so we're skipping the half, a whole step, another whole step, gotta skip one, and then we have a half. Now 3 whole steps, skip this one, another whole step, skip that one, then you have one more whole step, skip this one, and then you're at the root. So this works anywhere. That's your major scale. Now, this is really, really important, man. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. This is just the beginning, so don't worry about it. Oh, well, how am I going to use it? Don't be silly. So this is really important too, because the minor keys that you guys all like to make your beats in, and that people like to make beats in and stuff like that, it's just a relative of this major key. So knowing this scale is almost like knowing the minor scale, and we'll get into that. So anyhow, let's go back into the C major scale. Now, so let's talk about chords, and we're going to start off with triads in week 1. Next week we'll get into sevenths, possibly, to see how this goes. But for now, we're going to start in triads. Triad, exactly what it sounds like, a triad, meaning 3. So 3 notes make up of a chord, okay? 2 notes do not make a chord. If you sound off 2 notes simultaneously, it's not a chord. It's just, you're just playing harmony at that point. It's major 3rd harmony, perfect 4th harmony, perfect 5th harmony, tritone harmony. But if I do this, that's a major chord. Major 7, major 6, alright? F major in 2nd inversion, D minor, E minor, F major. So chords are built in thirds. So let's go over this scale and let's start building chords. So you start from the root, and if it's built in thirds, you have your scale. I need you guys to think and not wait around. Like, yeah, I'm showing you guys, but I'm telling you, this is a thinking process. You got to be thinking for yourself. So here's your scale, and I just told you scales, chords are built in thirds. So you got to be able to, you got to have some kind of, you know, brain functioning and working this out. Like, you know, it's not like gonna be handed to you. So you got to do some thinking for yourself. So thirds. Let's talk about thirds. 1, 2, 3. That would be the third, right? So anyhow, starting off on C, jumping up to E is your first third. Then you need another third, right? So a third from E, here's E. A third from E, this would be a fourth, or excuse me, a second from E. Here's your third. So here's your first chord, C major chord. All right, that's your 1 chord. Now, let's go to D. Same thing, skip a note of the scale, skip another note of the scale, you got a chord. Here's your D minor chord. Let's go to the 3rd scale degree, E, skip F, playing in 3rd, skip A to B, here's another chord. You can start to see the pattern that they're in 3rds. You can see the note that's clearly being skipped each time. So it's pretty important. Excuse me, my allergies is acting up. But so anyhow, to the 4th scale degree, F, skip a note, you're on the major 3rd, and skip a note from there, built in 3rds, there you have it. And this goes on so forth. Here's the 5 chord, G, skip a note, skip a note. These are all 3rds. Here's the minor chord, all 3rds. And finally the half diminished. Alright, so let's make this make sense to you guys. How we learn this, and to make this kind of stick into our brains, we teach it like this. In any major scale, all major scales, the 1 chord is always major. So I just told you chords are built in thirds. So if I say 1 chord, what does that mean? Okay, here's our scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means 1, the chord that belongs to 1. And if chords are built in thirds, you don't need permission or help to figure that out. This is the 1 chord. Alright, so if I say play me a 4 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, chords are built in thirds. Take 4 and build up in thirds. There's your 4 chord. If I say play me a 6 chord, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And build in thirds. So there's your chords. Alright, so here's the theory behind it. This is every major scale. This is very, very important. All 1 chords in a major scale are major. Obviously, because it's a major scale. So all 2 chords are minor. No matter what scale. Doesn't matter if you're in C, F sharp, B natural, D, A. It's all the same. Every 3 chord in a major scale is minor as well. Every 4 chord is major. Every 5 chord is major. And every 6 chord is minor. And the 7th chord is a special case chord. It's the only one that exists in the scale. It's a diminished chord. And now we're going to get into the intervals of why is this chord a major, why are these minors, and why is this one diminished. But if you guys would please excuse me, I need to blow my nose for a second. Alright, I'm back. My apologies. The allergy is really kicking in. Real windy out today. So, alright, so let's get into, so I told you guys all the qualities of every chord inside of any major scale. Let's go over it really quick one more time. 1 chord, always major. 2 chord is always minor. 3 chord is always minor. 4 chord is always major. 5 chord is always major. 6 chord is always minor, which is the relative minor. That's how you get your minor key out, by the way. 7 chord is always diminished. Alright, so before we go over these intervals really quick, let's listen to these chords. So a major chord has a happy or a triumphant kind of feel to it. That's your major chord. Now the minor chord is known to be kind of what they say, like a melancholy or sad or deep thought or dark, you know. There's your minor chord, but let's use one from the scale. So there's your minor chord. There it is, and you can completely hear the difference. So here's the E minor, and you hear it has that kind of sound to it. Or let's do a minor, quick 2 chord minor chord progression. So it does kind of have that melancholy sound, or that deep thought, but versus, you know, the major chord is very happy. So in E minor here, look at the major chord though. It's totally different. So it's not the same thing. So anyhow, the diminished chord is very dark. There you go. It's used a lot in blues. Alright, so just wanted to let you guys hear how the chords sound and, you know, my thoughts on them. Let's now talk about how these chords were built and why they are what they are, and this is where the intervals come into play. So let's go over to 1 chord. You have a C, E, and a G. Alright? So remember when we talked about the intervals, said minor second, minor third. Well, look what this is. It's a major third. Okay? So if you follow some of the other videos that they're not exactly, it wasn't a music theory series, but still I talked about how a chord with a root in the 5th is without the 3rd is no good, because it doesn't tell you the quality of the chord. And now you can kind of see how, because here's our 5th. Doesn't say anything, but we put a 3rd in there, rather be major. You can hear it now, or minor. Alright, so It's a major chord because it has a major third. Now, keep this in mind. All major and minor chords, all of them, every last one of them, I don't care what key it is, they all have the root, obviously, and the perfect fifth. They all have it. So if we're talking triads and you're playing chords, having a root and a perfect fifth doesn't do you anything. It is the interval in between the root and the fifth that is telling you the quality of the chord. So let's go over the 7 chords at a major scale, and then you'll easily understand why they are what they are. The one chord being major kind of speaks for itself because it has to be. You're in a major key, but still, it doesn't matter. It's not like the intervals will lie. It has the major third and then the perfect fifth. So the 2 chord is a minor because, remember, we got minor second, major second, minor third. So it's a minor chord because it has a minor third and not a major third. It's a minor third. You can hear that. Alright, so the 3 chord, same thing. This is why we're calling it a minor chord, because of the intervals. It's based on the interval of a minor third. Alright, so here's E. So our root, minor second, major second, minor third. That's why it's a minor chord. Here's the 5th, but we're learning the 5th don't matter because all minor and major chords have a root and a perfect fifth. So if you don't play the middle interval of the third, no one knows what the chord is. It's literally a matter of me adding a G to make it minor or a G sharp to make it major. Alright, one note away. So here's the 4 chord, F. Same thing. Remember I said all 4 chords are major. Alright, and you got your minor second, major second, minor third, major third. It's a major chord. The 5 chord, G, is a major chord, as I said. Same thing. It's got your root. Here's your minor second, major second, minor third. Look what it has, a major third. So it's a major chord. 6th scale degree, A is the 6th scale degree. And let's go, we're building chords in thirds. Minor second, major second. Look what it has, minor third. It's a minor chord. Now, here's the very, very special case. The redheaded stepchild, the diminished chord. Why is it diminished? Well, let's take a look. B, alright, minor second, okay, and major second, minor third. It does have that, okay, so far we got a minor chord. If we can get to that perfect fifth, we're good to go. Problem with the perfect fifth is F sharp, and F sharp is not in the C major scale, but F natural is. So when we go up from D to F, we have a major, ends up being another minor third. So what a diminished chord is, it's stacked minor thirds. Here's your root, okay, minor second, major second, minor third. And then from D, right here, D, minor second, major second, minor third. It's 2 minor thirds. It's stacked minor thirds, and that gives you a diminished sound. Alright, so that's why they call it the diminished chord. It has that tritone interval that we talked about. Alright, and finally you go back home to the 1 chord. So, quick recap on that. Remember this is really important. I'm telling you guys, super vital. When you start putting these numbers together, this is just week 1. As we go through this music theory series, when you put all of this stuff together, I'm telling you, it becomes automatic. I'm teaching you guys this stuff straight off the top of my head. I learned this stuff years ago, but it doesn't go anywhere. You always utilize it. You can only get better. So I'm telling you guys, stick with it. This information is vital. It'll change everything. You'll finally understand what in the world you've been doing. So, quick recap. In a major scale, the 1 chord is always major, 2 chord always minor, 3 chord always minor, 4 chord always major, 5 chord always major, 6 chord always minor, 7 chord is always diminished. Finally, back to your 1 chord. Alright, so I just gave you guys all the information that if you wanted to do this on your own, you could. So, for instance, homework. I say, hey, play me right now a F sharp major chord. You can now do that. Even though we're not working in that scale, look how this works. You go to F sharp, and you say, okay, he said, play a major chord. That's what the teacher said. So, I remember a teacher saying, that all major and minor chords have the root and a perfect fifth. I'm giving you the root, telling you it's F sharp. So there's many ways you can look at this, but all you have to do is count your intervals. Minor second, major second, minor third, major third. There's your next note. Alright, so major third, look, perfect fourth. Alright, tritone, perfect fifth. So you can build the chord based on the intervals I taught you. You now should be able to build any triad chord, any minor or major chord, or any diminished chord. I just told you what all the intervals are, and you should be able to build them for the rest of your life. Just keep watching the video if you have to, but that's what it's there for. It's kind of better than being inside of a classroom because you got to take notes. Here you don't have to take notes. The video ain't going nowhere. It's an advantage for you. So anyhow, so this is all the important stuff. In this music theory, you don't jump ahead. You see what I'm saying? So we're getting ready to end this class pretty soon. Why? Because there's been some vital stuff already being taught here. There's no need to jump ahead until you guys confirm that you understand these basics. Alright? So let's go through. I will give you guys some chord examples and things like that. But like I said, you don't jump ahead. This is something to really understand here. I gave you guys all of the intervals. You need to think about that. I gave you guys a major scale formula. I told you, what do you call that? Major scale harmony, meaning I'm telling you what each chord derived from its scale degree is in triads. All of that matters. You got to go over all of this stuff. So let's see. Before we close out here, make sure I'm not missing anything that's pretty vital for our very first lesson. And there's not at all. That's all very important. Later we'll get into rhythm and stuff like that coming in probably next week. I'll start teaching you guys how to count, and all that matters too. When you hear people, yeah, you can kind of guess where to click stuff in, but if you know this graph here mathematically and by the numbers, you can do way better. So let's close out with a little scale. Let's close out with some chord progressions. All right, to close out into this major scale theory right here, and then we'll go into complex. We'll get more complex next week. So here we are right here. Major. Okay. So here's your one chord. Here I want to talk about some common chord progressions that you guys can use right away. Play around with, so you guys will get familiar with this thing. Alright, so one chord is what you call home. Obviously, that's what key you're in. Alright, so let's talk about some tricks and some chord changes. The next important chord is the 5 chord. Alright, so listen to this sound, how I can bring this home. So you got 1, and you got 5, and then 1. 5, and 1. So think about a song ending, right? You have something like this. And you see how in order for me to end the cadence, I had to play that 5 chord. So the 5 chord is the chord that will bring you home. It's called the dominant chord, and it's probably the most important chord in music, because without it, you really don't get a true feel of that you're resting. That's what they like to call resting. That the piece is over. So, so that's the common, probably the most common is just going back from 1 to 5. All right, I'll play you guys a music example again of the 1 chord to the 5. So that is, the basics. Got to know the 5 chord. All right, and so the next important chord is the 4 chord, and this is a common chord progression going 1, 4, 5. So here's your 4 chord F. And so the common progression, like you might hear people do a 4 chord 4 1. You guys know Sam Smith, Stay With Me. It uses, that'll be a good example. But yeah, he does a 4-1 after he starts on the minor chord there. So it's like, but the last 2 chords was a 4-1, right? So you got 6, but here's the 4, 4-1. So 4-1 was used a lot in church, and it's called the Amen cadence. You know, like, so yeah, so that's where that comes from. So, and now how you can connect the 1, 4, and 5 chords easily. Play around with them. You got 1, 4, 5. So 1, 4, 5 is very, very common. Let me play around with these 3 chords for you guys, just to show you guys. We're just getting familiar with the major scale. So that's the 1, the 4, and the 5. And let's talk about the blues now. If you always was wondering, that's what the blues was. The blues was a progression from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, back to the 1 chord, and then finally to the 5 chord to the 4 chord to the 1 chord. Here's a basic, simple blues, 12-bar blues progression. So that's what the blues was. It was just a 1 4 and 5 4 1. So again, you know, 1 chord, now your 4 chord, 1 chord, 5. If you always was wondering how that blues stuff, so that's what that is. So, you know, in the beginning stages with the triads, which makes sense, you're hearing a lot of church gospel type sounds or early classical, which would make sense. They hadn't developed that that complex harmony yet, to where, you know, they were using, like, you know, crazy stuff like, say, this. So they hadn't gotten into all of that stuff yet, but that's why the triads, basic, simple sound, early classical music, early gospel, church, blues music. So another progression that ended up becoming very, very famous, as George Gershwin, a famous American composer. You guys really should know who these people are, honestly. Not now, but I mean, if you're going to learn it now, you don't got to. It's not like you got to play the music, or I'm just saying, just be aware of music, the history of American music, you know, or just music, period, you know, the masters of it. So you can learn something about melodies and harmonies. But George Gershwin had the rhythm changes, which was a 1-6-2-5 chord progression. Now, before we get into the 1-6-2-5, we're going to talk about the 2-5-1, which is probably it's the most common chord change in jazz history and you know, American music for a long time early. All right, and remember, we're going over all this theory. This is exactly what I said it was. It's 2-5-1. You got your 2 chord. We're in C. Here's your 2 chord. 5 is G. And 1. All right, so it's really that simple. So anyhow, so the 2-5. Let's go over the 2-5-1 real again. So you got 1, just start off on the 1 so you can just see how the 2-5-1 travels. But, so So you got 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. So now I'll give you guys kind of like an advanced example of that. So there's your 2-5-1 chord progression, and later George Gershwin, then based on the 2-5-1, he came up with the 1-6-2-5 chord progression. But I know my music, you know, all the way through, and he was not the first person to do that. Not even close. I played through all the music, and I had discovered from Joseph Haydn, classical composer, he had a piece where he was already playing the 1-6-2-5 and 1780. So George Gershwin doing it in 1920 or 27. He wasn't the first person to do it, but he get a lot of credit for it. But it was done long time ago. Classical music, we're doing 1-6-2-5. Chopin did it later. I mean, it has been done. So the 1-6-2-5 chord progression, it's kind of like a 1-6-2-5, ba doom bop, bop boom boom boom. So a little example, So there's your 1-6-2-5. To give you an advanced example of that. So if you guys are listening to this and you're telling yourself, well, how am I going to use this in the trap beat or whatever? Relax. Here's a beat where I used the 1-6-2-5 chord progression, and you can see that it totally can apply to modern music. So anyhow, that was a 1-6-2-5 chord progression. 1 going to the 6, do boom do. 2 going to the 5, do 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 boom do 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 do. That was a 1-6. So it just, like I said, this is the beginning stage. I'm just showing you got to know the information first. I'm not gonna jump. I'm not gonna discombobulate you guys and have you all disoriented trying to. It's not how it works. You need to know just the beginning elements and how this how to, like, where the stuff derives from first. Then we'll get into how to use it. I got patterns coming for you guys. Let's go to that 2-5-1. Just like I said, I'm gonna continue to show you guys because I know what people think. Cause I know I've taught many students. They get they get so silly about, well, it's not applicable, and how can it's retarded. So let me show you guys an example also of the 2-5-1 chord progression. So those beginning chords, that's 2-5-1. 2-2-5, and then comes the 1. So I'll play that exact chord progression right here really quick. It was in a different key, but that was a 2-5-1. So all the stuff matters. You can use it, and I got plenty of examples and things like that, but I was just, scratching the surface. You guys want to talk about 1 chord going to the 5 chord? Not a problem. Here's a good example how the 1 chord can go to just the 5 chord, and you can bounce them back. And I use the 5 chord as a pedal point. So I just showed you guys how all 3 of those basic chord progressions that you guys, when I was playing the piano example, be honest with yourself, I know some of you guys were probably like, this guy has nothing to do with production. Well, alright. Okay. So anyhow, those were the basic chord progressions right there. So I want you guys to, go over this stuff, think about it again. Don't worry, I'm a master at this. I improvise all of my teachings, but I will watch the video and I'll know exactly where we're picking up at next week, so don't worry. But this stuff was all important. Next week we're going to get into some more music examples. We're going to get into the 7 chords, and we're going to continue to go through the theory and of the major scale. We'll start talking about major scale melody, all right, and then we'll start talking about tricks and things like that. And in the 3rd week, you know, I'll start taking this scale, and we're going to go into the minor scale harmony, and we might be able to reach that in the 2nd week. So, because the major scale, right, C to C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. The minor scale degree is on the 6th scale degree, man. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A natural. If you take A natural, all right, right here, and you play it all the way up to the next A, that's the minor scale right there. That's what it means when it say the every major scale has a relative minor, and it's on the 6th scale degree. All right, so when you be playing all these beats in A minor like this, that is nothing but the relative minor to the key of C major. It's the same damn key, is what I'm saying. So next week, if depending on how things go, if it's not too much information, we're going to get into the minor scale. But that's what I got planned for you guys. And, you know, like I said, drop your questions, things you don't understand. We're going to get to it. This is just week 1. It's 16 weeks, man. So we're going to get into all of the stuff you want to get to. But this is the stuff that's important. Otherwise, if I start explaining things about more modern techniques that we're doing and how we can apply this stuff to production, you'll be lost. And I don't like none of my students lost. Like, that's not, you're just building more and more on top of confusion. So go over all this stuff this week. All right, go over that major scale pattern. Go ahead and pick some notes out. Start on B flat and spell yourself a major chord by using that formula: whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Learn the major scales. Do that. Download all that chords. Use this stuff. You know what I mean? Trust me, I know what I'm doing. This stuff seems so like it's not going to help. I mean, I'm telling you. Do what I'm telling you to do. Go over them intervals. Figure it out. Make sure the shit clicks in your mind. If it don't click, you're not ready for week 2. If it's not clicking to you about the intervals and why something is minor and why it's major, it ain't clicking. You know what I mean? So, damn, dog's barking. Somebody must be at my door, man. Keep my palace guarded by these big dogs. But anyhow, let me check my damn door real quick. One moment. Alright, sorry about that, man. You know, home alone, so I'm in the studio, and yeah, gotta check around the crib, man. Got the home security system, but I can't see it from where I'm at right now. So, anyhow, so yeah, go over the homework, go over the chord changes, go over the scale degrees, major scale harmony, how the 1 chord is major, 2 is minor, 3 is minor, 4 is major, 5 is major, 6 is minor, 7 is diminished. Go over the intervals. Play around with it. Even if you're making a beat, doesn't matter if it's not a beat like, oh, I'm about to use. Just play around with these chord changes. Just start messing around. Also, I realize I'm going to have to, here's some other things I realize have to happen, which is I'm going to teach a keyboard harmony course. Because all this information is dope, but you need to learn how to play the keyboard. You don't have to be a pianist like me or anything nowhere remotely close to that, but you need to know how to move around on the keyboard. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Think about Dr. Dre, how Scott Storch, you know, played piano for him. You need a keyboard player. Like a lot of producers, Kanye West, got to hire a keyboard player. DJ Mustard, don't play no, you got to hire a keyboard player. You see what I'm saying? So, learn how to play some of the keys, because it's one thing for me to teach you guys the theory. It's another thing for you to know, like, the ins and out of piano and like things that are normally done on pianos, right? So you only learn that by playing the piano. So anyway, that's all important. Um, so yeah, that's where we are right now. Like I said, it's gonna get real complex. I can't wait, but I'm not gonna screw you guys over by trying to jump to the good stuff just to keep you guys, attentive. If you don't, this ain't for you. This ain't for you. Look, I'm good to go, right? I know all this stuff. So anyway, let's close out, man. Cause I'll have some more videos, tutorials for you guys throughout the week. But we're gonna have this class every Monday. Classes in session. If you don't understand something and you're trying to get ready for the next class next week, you need to holler at me. All right, leave a message, comment. Make sure you guys like the video, man. I got hella trolls out there. It's crazy. So yeah, make sure y'all like the video, man. Show some love and some support. Just keep following this stuff, guys. And anyway, real quick before I forget. So yeah, I'm gonna do a series on keyboard harmony and melody. All right, so we got a melody series coming up. We got a harmonic, harmony series coming up, and then I'm thinking about doing a mixing series. And now, keep this in mind that the keyboard harmony series cannot start no time soon. Because this is the information you'll need to know, or you'll be lost in there. So that won't be starting anytime soon. And neither will the melody one until we get underway with this. I would say probably all the way up to about the 8th week. So in 2 months, you guys can expect those things. The mixing series is something that can come out, beforehand. And then we'll be doing other stuff. Look, if you guys got ideas other than just tutorials, let me know what they are. What type of videos, like, hey, do a video on this or that or whatever. Teach us how to do this. Well, let me know. So that's it, man. Let's wrap it up because I'm going to do some more videos for you guys this week with crazy content. But yeah, those were the basics, man. And I even showed you guys 3 beats of mine that use all of the basic chord changes. All of the basic ones. So that's pretty deep, too. I showed you guys that. So next week, we'll get into the 7ths. Alright, we'll get into the 7 chords. We'll go deeper into the major scale, playing better, more examples. And I got plenty of beats in major keys to show you guys. Unbelievable tricks. So we haven't even gotten there yet. And we're going to keep exploring the major scale theory because that's where music really started with inside that major scale. So peace and love, man. I'm really excited for you guys, man. And we'll holler at y'all. All right, SP out.